GPS data. We have tachograph machines on the bus that upload automatically. We have ticket machines. We have scrolls, destination scrolls. We have kind of telematics for the vehicle engine and obviously for the driver side of things as well. So we've got quite a and we've also got a radio system as well. So we have quite a large number of data systems on all our vehicles. So if we go to the next slide, please.
Yep.
So just to put you in a picture of us, Éireann, our goal is to be the most customer-focused public transport company in Ireland. One of our key performance measures that we try and uphold is on-time services, sort of punctuality, and that's for our customers and our stakeholders, the National Transport Authority, who most of our work is for them. We have a company target of 90% punctuality at all bus stops, and the contractual targets range between 60 and 80%. And the targets are increasing each contract year. Our scale of operation, we've over sort of 220 timetables or routes, 750 buses and coaches, and we're getting on for about 2,000 drivers, and we have sort of 5,000 plus bus stops. So within all that, there are multiple data sets in our planning systems and in all those operating systems. You can just imagine the absolutely millions of bits of data coming at us that gives us opportunities. So we're a national company, and we've an ever-changing operational environment. Unlike a lot of transport companies, we were kind of hitting COVID with lots of congestion issues, and then we had the sort of lull in traffic conditions and customer numbers, and then it built up. And then the road sort of traffic patterns very much changed again. We were seeing a lot of roadway given back to pedestrians and cyclists, so that obviously created pinch points and additional congestion. We're also seeing people, congestion back way higher than we were seeing pre-COVID. And when, as you probably all know, when we're seeing roads at high levels of congestion, they're highly susceptible to more incidents and collisions and things, and that just further causes disruptions to services. And also, we're seeing massive increases in our customer numbers. A lot of that driven by the NTA's sort of lower fare policy and trying to get younger people travelling on buses. So we've seen a massive increase in passenger numbers, and that all adds to loading time and complications if the bus is full and trying to explain to people they have to wait for the next bus and that kind of stuff. So we are a great place to be, great challenges, but they're all there, and so we're keen to sort of use as much data as we can to try and identify where we can improve. So we have 13 main operating locations and lots of kind of sort of sub depots around the area, and we operate a range of services like city services, town services, and then stage carriage. That's kind of the interurban, the sort of the intertown stuff across the country, and then we have further commuter stuff coming into the city, and then our intercity, so expressway services. So our punctuality performance is actually measured at every stop, and to be punctual in our contract, we have to be no more than 1 minute early and no more than 5 minutes 59 seconds late, and that's every single bus stop in each direction. So one of the challenges we have is we try to give a reasonable average, based on data, historic data. But we're seeing like Mondays isn't like Monday before COVID. It's another Friday morning, and we're seeing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is a completely different traffic data. The Monday and the Friday morning, and then the Friday evening is worse again than the rest of the week. So we're seeing that there isn't a kind of a one timetable fits all operation for weekdays anymore, and that leads to sometimes not enough or too much time in sections of the timetable, and that's a challenge for us because Customers don't want to sit at a bus stop because there's too much time there. They just want to be on the bus that's moving. But then if we don't have enough, then we're not hitting our punctuality targets, and we get penalties for being late. So it's a very, very challenging environment we're kind of working in at the moment. So we're looking for every opportunity we can to try and optimize what we're doing and improve for our customers and for our own efficiency. So sort of thinking about this, how does Bus Éireann use, so the next slide, please.
Yep, moved on.
Yeah, so how does Bus Éireann use data to drive value and sustainability? I kind of started looking at the internet and saying, well, what's data about? And there's a nice little quote there about data is a powerful tool for improving performance, etc. But really, for Bus Éireann, it's an opportunity. We've got so much data coming at us. And we've seen lovely things done in Excel, and people export this and do this, manipulate their data and do this with it. But there's so much data, and the only real way you take advantage of that data is to make sure you got the right resources, and that can be internal, it can be systems, or it can be also partners that you find that you procure to try and digest that data and put it and give us useful insights. So just to take you through, and one of the key things we found is that understanding the quantity and the quality of your data is key, because they're very easy to go running off and making decisions based on some nice graph that someone's shown the data. But you do need to scratch the surface and say, okay, well, was that 100% data set? Are we just looking at half of the data? What have we seen the whole picture? And then has it been measured correctly? What parameters we used, are those correct? And we were seeing, I'll give you an example. Buses quite often in our data show up as departing early when they don't, and that can be because a car's parked at the bus stop and they have to pull up. They maybe drop off people at the stop, shut the door, and then when the car moves, they sort of pull up into the stop and they're kind of waiting. But because they've opened and closed the doors and they may have pulled up just past that parked car, it can trigger the system to say, well, the bus has departed earlier, and actually it's still there. So there's kind of a geo-fencing issues and all that sort of thing that has to be looked at. And it's really all about improving our service delivery for our customers and trying to get the most effective and efficient operating plans. And that's key there. Quite often we've gone chasing the efficiencies because of costs, but you trip over very quickly, because if you haven't got a robust operating plan that can cater for the above average delays and issues that can occur, then you're always going to be chasing your tail. So we're very keen to make sure that all our operating plans are not just efficient, but they are effective and help us meet our and exceed our contractual targets. So there's a couple of things I just wanted to touch on. One of them was a network performance and decisioning system, and that's something we went to the market with and got a partner involved. And the need for it came about because we have an end-of-life automatic vehicle location system, and the Transport Authority are in the process of procuring a new next-generation AVL system, and anyone operating contacts the NTA will have that system fitted. So we're in a bit of limbo, really, with a couple of years before that is fully rolled out. And we're stuck with this end-of-life system. Now, there are options to try and upgrade it, but it's a lot of money, and that's something that we don't really want to invest in for such a short period of time. So we needed to find further ways of improving our insights into our operation. So we went to the market for a partner to put together a network performance decisioning system, and I'll come back to that in a minute. Also, then we were looking to find better planning tools, and because planning is a key to the bus operations, we try and invest heavily in it, because the routes are fairly static. We're going to the same place every day at the same stops, so there is an opportunity there to really home in on what the average is and try and make sure that we've got a reliable plan that can operate for most days. So we're looking for currently looking for a timetable optimizer that can process large data sets of AVL data using artificial intelligence and kind of tell us what it thinks it would be a better timetable than the one we have, how it can be improved, where we need more time or less time. And also we have a vehicle optimizer. We have a system that we put our timetable in. We put the timetables that we think we need to get a reliable service, and then some of our operations could have several routes with 20 or 30 vehicles operating across them, so we have a vehicle optimizer that would place vehicles according to the capacity you need at the right time, and making sure that they're there in time for the next service and in the right place, that kind of thing. And also have a driver duty optimizer. Similarly, it kind of looks at driving hour regulations, where the drivers are braking, and it tries to get the most compact, efficient, but also reliable sort of driver duties that we have. And then also there's a roster optimization, which is kind of taking the driver planning a stage further, where we're looking for efficiencies, but also we're conscious that there is a shortfall of large vehicle drivers at the moment. So we're trying to make sure our duties are friendly, as in they're not sort of too onerous or sort of long duties. And also we're trying to get a work-life balance into the rosters, things like making sure if they're having a long weekend in their roster, that we try and put an early shift before the weekend off and a late shift at the end of the weekend, things like that. There are limitations what you can do, but and also we're looking at sort of 4-day weeks where drivers do long working days, but they only work 4 days and have 3 days off. So that's quite popular. So sometimes we can do that. So those are a couple of things. We'll go to the next slide, please.
Yep.
Okay. So network performance and decisioning system. So this, as I touched on earlier, this came about because we've got a sort of end of life AVL system, and we needed something that was going to give us better insights and a better way to support us in complying with our contract compliance targets. So when we went to sort of put together a network performance decisioning system, the key deliverable there was integration and ability to pull data from multiple systems. As I said at the beginning there, we have lots of different systems. Some of them are sort of already nested in with sort of driver and vehicle planning data. Others, it's just the vehicle ID, the specific to that particular system, and it didn't necessarily link into any of the others. So what we were looking for is something that could pull all those data feeds together, and in particular the ones where we have GPS tracking data, and then try and combine other things like ticketing systems in as well, and try and link them all together. And so that's what we're looking for, and we thought, well, if we get that, we're going to have a much richer data set that's fuller and that there aren't gaps in it, and give us an opportunity to try and to really see what's happening in our operation, because we're spread across the country, and we have our service control centres around the country that we're monitoring things when supervising services remotely. So we really need good eyes on our services. So so far it's been implemented recently, and it's provided significant improvements in the depth of the operational insights that we have, and we get a much better, wider range of real-time KPIs before. We can see what time the buses left the depots in the morning, what time they got to their starting point compared to the operating plan. We can see that how well they did at the beginning of each trip they're scheduled to do, and we can look and see if they completed every trip as planned, and we can also look to see how early or late they came back into the depot in the evening, and there's just so much more. We could follow services over time across the route and see which bus stops are the worst performing, which are the best performing, and just so much of a better insight into our services from this system. It's all due to sort of the overlaying of multiple sort of data feeds. and measuring it against our operating plans. That's the sort of the key comparison. And we've got, as I was saying, multiple sort of innovative representations of our data, which give us really good insights and opportunities to better plan and get better statistical reporting. And there's some very clever features where we can be looking at a timetable, planned actual, and we can click and see the trip and click on the stop, and it will take us straight to the to a map view of the bus, and you can see the icons of all the GPS data stamps. You can see where the data feed came from, where it originated from, which system that GPS feed came from, and you can see the speed of the vehicle and all sorts of stuff. So it's just really clever stuff. And of course, as I said, there's so many systems, and a lot of them originally set up with their own unique sort of idents for the vehicles. That one of the key challenges was really just pulling it all together through various APIs with common denominators, things that kind of attach. Yeah, this is this bus. Lots of different tables to linking. Well, this data set matches this data set. Look up tables and that sort of thing, and lots of clever algorithms to. Because where you had competing data for the same location and things like that, you had to have rules for which data would you take as your preferred data if there was sort of duplicate sort of differences in it. So quite a complicated but successful. We picked a very good partner, and they really have delivered a very good system for us, and it enabled us to really see what's happening with our services all around the country. We'll go to the next slide, please.
On.
Yeah, okay. So the next one then is a timetable optimizer challenge. So as I said there, we're challenged by lots of issues on the road with traffic congestion, additional passenger numbers, lots of things happening that are making just slowing down the operating speed of our services. And the opposite can happen. We have some bus lanes being put in places around the country, and those can speed up operating speeds along certain trips. So there's an ever-changing sort of operation out there, and we need something that can quickly tell us where we've got too much or too little time. And if you think about our timetables, each timetable, we've got 226 timetables. And obviously they've got two directions, and there's weekdays, Saturdays, Sundays, and there's obviously different patterns for different variations of the timetable. So your time to sort of multiplying all the different actual timetable sets that you have to go and review, you're into thousands. You think you've got 226, very quickly into the thousands of actual timetables that you sort of sets that you have to actually to review. So we really did need an optimizer, because a lot of it was being done manually through looking at various data systems and basically manually adjusting stuff in Excel or in our planning system to change the segment times. So we needed something, and we looked at the AI technology to pull together large quantities of historical data and sort of suggest to us what the new timetable should be, and we wanted one step further. We actually wanted to know, well, what do I need if I want to achieve 90%? What do I need if I want to achieve 80% punctuality? Something that could look and see all the variables and look at the kind of the percentiles of late running, and say, well, okay, if you want to cover scenarios up to the 70 or 80 percentile of late running, then this is the timetable you want. But then you also get a risk that you put too much in to make sure you can get 80 or 90%. Then you've got a risk on the quiet days. You've got early running that can obviously drag down your score, or make customers unhappy because they're sitting at bus stops for too long. So it's just trying to get that balance right. So we need quicker, more accurate analysis of our historic data. And also we need a full view of the sort of the inaccuracies that we see in our data. I've kind of touched on it. You get sort of false positives and things like that. That bus stops might be in the wrong location in the plan. All sorts of weird and wonderful things could be happening with the data, and you really have to scratch the surface and understand what it is you're looking at before you can kind of just take for granted what you're seeing. So even with AI, we would be sort of sampling what we're seeing. If we saw big suggested big changes from the current plan, we'd be sort of scrutinising that very closely. So, well, why have we got that so wrong? What's happened? What's different? And we'd be really testing that suggestion. And we also need dynamic editing sort of functionality, because it's not just about efficiently trying to get the buses round and round as quick as we can. We have to meet certain corridors at certain times where there's 2 or 3 different services coming down the same corridor. So one would have to be 10 past, one would have to be 20 past, and 30, different routes. So you've got a sort of frequency of service down a particular corridor from different routes. So we would have to kind of pin back or pin certain departure times on the service, and that meant, whatever you were doing, adjusting your segment times, you wanted it to concertina backwards and forwards, but not affect the rigid departure times that you wanted to stick to, and things like that. And also that would kind of backpedal or go forward onto your vehicle plan as well, and see how that would alter things. So that dynamic editing is a key thing that we're looking to land in the system. And also just seeing a full view of what the standard deviation or percentile information is. What are the common sort of overruns you see? What I mean by that is it typically an average maybe could be an hour from one end of a service to another. But if we see the 75, 80 percentile is another 20 or 30 minutes, then we know that at the end of that 1 hour trip, it's highly likely that there's going to be regular occasions where 20 or 30 minutes of an overrun is going to take place, and you have to allow that as a recovery time at the end of the trip to make sure that bus is ready to go back out on the next trip. And then you have to factor that back into all your driver duties and rosters as well. So that's a key thing that we needed to do. So and testing opportunity, comparing suggested timetables. So when we had the timetables, we wanted to try and wash it with old historic AVL data and say, well, if this timetable that the system is proposing worked, and we had it in place last month, what would the result have been? And it's not an exact science, because the driver behaviour might have been different, because they would have been sort of trying to work to a different timetable. But just as a bit of a guide as to how far away we might be, can we wash that historical data across the suggested timetable and see what the punctuality performance was? And that's a key thing we're looking for it. So we'll go to the next slide, please.
Done.
Yeah. Okay. So look, just those are kind of two of the one that we've landed this year and is up and running. The timetable optimizer, we're in a process of competition with a number of partners that were hoping to get the right system. But there's also other opportunities that Eireann has and next steps. And it's back to the data and these opportunities. We have a duty and roster optimizing system, and we're looking to try and get further improvements on the optimizing sort of modeling to drive driver efficiencies, but also driver friendliness. Having duties that are more attractive to drivers is going to be actually a key competitive advantage to us if we're going to try and attract drivers to us in a market that we're seeing sort of is drying up with drivers. Telematics, we've got telematic systems, and we get great data about our vehicle performance and eco driving on our drivers, so we can see all the safety issues coming up and getting and drivers have an app so they can get off their bus and they can look and see how their driving performance was and that kind of stuff. Electric buses, we have electric buses in Athlone, the first town service. It's the first bus town service in Ireland to be fully electric. We're rolling out the next one in Limerick. So completely new, different data sets for us to try and get heads around. But to do with the sort of the performance of the vehicle and the range, the kilowatt hours and the consumption of power and the state of charge, how we monitor that. And it just brings a whole new thing to monitoring bus services. And what we're seeing is you need more buses because they don't do the same range, and they've got to come in and be recharged. the range you can get from a bus changes depending on the weather. It changes depending on your load factors, on whether it's a busy school day or not, or that kind of thing, and on your topography as well. So if you have a service that's running uphill with a full load, then your battery's going to burn out a lot quicker than the driver coming down the hill with the empty road, and so all that kind of stuff you're looking into your planning now to see, well, okay, how can I maximize the use of my vehicles, but make sure we don't get in the danger zone where we might run out of battery. So that there's completely new dimension to our planning, and the opportunity and the data stuff coming there is amazing. So again, it's just trying to pull that together. There's also a lot of other alternative fuels for longer distance vehicles. We looked at hydrogen and we're looking at some other things, but again, it's all that there's going to be limitations. There's going to be different things we have to take into account. But keen to get stuck into that, and we've got a team of people that are working on the future sort of vehicle fuels. And where we go with that. And again, there's going to be lots of data opportunities coming from that, and we'll be keen to knit that in with our network performance system. And then next generation ticketing, the Transport Authority and ourselves on our commercial services have new ticketing systems, and that's going to give us opportunity to pull in sort of much more detailed ticketing data, with GPS location and load factor sort of details, so we can really help sort of plan our services according to demand and that kind of thing. And be in a position where we can say, well, okay, we don't need to run on double decker on these trips. We only need a single decker, and there'll be fuel savings from that. And it gives us an opportunity to sort of plan more effectively like that for environmentally. So that's kind of just a flavour of some of the next steps of where we see the sort of the data challenges for us, the opportunities. And then I just feel you're just going to finish with just more of a personal insight myself, from being someone who sort of was getting their hands dirty with the daily operations. The days where you stood on the roadside with a chronograph and a sort of a time book, to where we are now. We still really need to know our business. We need to know how to get our hands dirty and operate our business, but we really do need to change in a way that we can work our data and get it, because it's no point having all these great different systems and all these data sets and they don't talk to each other, and you're just swamped with lots of different bits of data. But actually to pull it all together and get, if you like, a single story is an absolutely amazing thing, and we're starting to see that with our MPDS system. So the modern bus operation is a very, very technical business now. And I just kind of put the last thing there, smarten up. When I first started working in central operations in Eireann, I could see kind of the way things were going, and not being the most technical minded, I very quickly realised I needed to surround myself by people who had the IT experience, and I could share my operational experience with them, and they could guide me through the sort of the maze of technology stuff that's developed and still developing. So that's it really. There's a quick journey through Eireann and the data and the things we're trying to do to make the best use of it. Thank you.